Right. Countdown is on screen. Notifications are going out. Instagram is not playing ball. What else is new? It's Sunday, and it wouldn't be Talking Con without a couple of technical issues. But to be fair, I mean, I thought I've got everything pretty much in place. I've even rendered my countdown thing in 2K, which is probably why it's stuttering like nobody's business. But there we go. Yes, the countdown is up and running, which gives us a couple of minutes to spread the word. Please do let everyone know that we're up and running, and we are going to be talking to a cracking guest about a cracking Kickstarter, which, if you've been following it along, you know that number one, it's doing very nicely indeed, but also just it's a really cool book, which I'm really happy to talk about. Okay, let's see what we've got here. I am going to try and post this to Instagram. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Don't ask. Don't ask. No. We're also on, yeah, we are on Instagram. And I do want to apologize to my Instagram followers, anyone who does watch this on Instagram, because, well, we try and keep the show under an hour, because not only that, Instagram only allows you to live stream for an hour. So it kind of gives me grief. So I kind of struggle. But apparently we're live. So, you know, I'm going to assume that we are watching on Instagram as well. As always, jump in on the comments. Let us know if there's anything that you'd like to talk to my guests about. Where are you watching from, of course? Are you excited about WonderCon? It's not that far away now, is it? We are creeping closer and closer to March. And yeah, it's certainly shaping up to be, it's getting there. It's shaping up to be an interesting show. Slowly but surely, CCI are pulling their finger out of their proverbial and getting things kind of like geared up for it, and people are getting vaguely excited about it. So all well and good. Chuck a Toilet, is it live or is it Memorex? Well, it is live now. Whether I'm live is a whole other ball game. Am I alive? I've got a cup of tea, and that usually helps. So there we go. Right, top of the hour. Let's do this thing. Hello there, welcome along to Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Lennon Sultana, and each and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, we talk comics, Comic Cons, and all the stuff and nonsense we get to enjoy at such shows. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We've got one or two people saying hello on the comments already. Thank you very much indeed for coming along, especially if you're joining us at the top of the show and you're watching along live, which means you are a subscriber on the old YouTube. Thank you very much indeed. If you are somebody who follows on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Instagram, or wherever you do watch us, you've got your notifications turned on, and I really appreciate it. As always, like the video, hit the notification bell, all that palaver, which you get with every podcast. Yeah, get all that smiley. Yes, hit the thumbs up and all of that nonsense. Yeah, you can do that with our show as well. So please do follow along and spread the word as well. Let everyone know that we are live each and every Sunday, talking all sorts of bits and pieces. We've got a comic of the week. We've got our social of the week as well. And we've also got some news about WonderCon, which is barreling down the pipe. However, we also have a special guest, which I'm very happy and grateful to join us today, which means I can bring this gentleman into the room. And considering that we did briefly talk before we came on air, I didn't hit his surname, which means we're going to get a full, proper introduction to Arthur and I want to say Ebuen.
Very close. It's Ebuen.
Oh man, that close. Go on.
It's better than most. Some people get the U in the beginning. They say Euben. I'm like, it's Ebuen, but it's all right. It's not the most common last name.
So which is it again? Sorry.
Ebuen. It's like Edwin, but with a B.
Okay, Edwin. That's sick stuff. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for correcting that for us. And also, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show. I put a shout out a couple of weeks ago for podcast guests because we had someone who kind of left us in the lurch at the very last minute. And Alex DeCampi was very grateful to step into the breach. But we had a whole bunch of people jumping on the thread and saying that they'd like to come on. And yours definitely stood out because, number one, I've been following your Threads account with much interest and also been following your Kickstarter off the back of that, which we are going to get into and talk about. First things first, I think it's only fair that we introduce you to our audience because maybe some people don't know who you are. I know from your Kickstarter page some of your bio, as an animator for Futurama and The Simpsons, but let's see if we can fill in a couple of gaps, especially when it comes to your comic creating stuff. So, Arthur, introduce yourself, sir. Who is Arthur Ebuen?
Well, we'll start with saying thank you, Leonard, for having me on. Very kind of you. I know we've kind of chatted via many forms of social before, so it was kind of cool to connect to see each other face to face, although you're on the other side of the world. But my name is Art. I started my career, as Leonard said, as an animator for Futurama, the first season. Then I moved on to The Simpsons, and then my heart realized I'm not into illustrating and drawing as much as I thought for those many years. So I moved on to go learn design and advertising and photography, and moved out to Boston for that after about 3 or 4 years of being out there. Moved back to San Diego, where I started my career in advertising, worked my way up to become an associate creative director at an agency. And in that time, I actually left the agency I was at to do some creative for Jack in the Box corporate. So very fun brand to be part of. Got to do some really wacky stuff. Had a great time, but went back to the agency that I started at, where we do a lot more social change kind of advertising. So not traditional retail advertising. It's like suicide prevention, heavier stuff, suicide prevention, mental health awareness, reducing drinking and alcohol use. Drug use amongst teens. A lot of stuff that to me matters. It's not, quote, the sexiest stuff, but I feel really good about what I put out there to help kind of society. But in that meantime, I've always been a fan of, obviously, pop culture. Actually, while working at Jack in the Box, the editor on our book, Justin Giampaoli, he and I met at a comic book store not too far from the corporate offices of Jack in the Box. Became really good friends. Actually, we just realized we've been friends for going on double-digit years now. Very good friends, very close friends at this point. He has his foot one of his 2 feet pretty deep into the industry. He is a critic. He's also an editor for other writers, but a writer in his own right. He's got a few books out: Starship Down, Rome West, a few things he's put out through Dark Horse and Stila. And in that process of him and I being friends, he knows that I write for advertising, and I've always kind of joked and kind of wondered about writing for comic books, long form. You write for 30 seconds, a 30-second commercial, but the amount of effort and research that we put into speaking and trying to be an expert in what you're writing for in those 30 seconds and trying to be as impactful as you can be. I was like, there's months of research and thought that goes into those 30 seconds. I wonder what it'd be like to put it into more long form. And Justin was like, just do it. So after some time, he and I were chatting, and I pitched a couple options, a couple concepts. And one that really stuck out was this kind of, to me, satire about us Californians who are kind of looked at as we're all vegan, we all do yoga, we all surf, kind of making fun of, the self-righteous, politically correct Californian. And so my joke was like, well, what if we're right? What if we separated off and became our own thing? And California came from that. So kind of making fun of corporate America and us Californians in kind of a serious tone. So that's kind of how that started.
Well, I mean, if there's one, there's several, but if there's one area of America that is ripe for self-satire, California, I think, it's just so full of culture and life. It kind of like lends itself to that. I totally get that. In putting together, then, I mean, you say that this was certainly a story of self-discovery, not only of the actual book itself, but also just putting the book together and learning how to write for it. Where did you kind of like go to for inspiration? Where did you kind of what did you read to kind of get your head around putting this to paper?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been a fan of long form like television for sure. So shows like The Leftovers or even The Wire, just long form has always been kind of my favorite
So
form
we
of.
are talking like epic storytelling.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that this is anywhere near that, but and then at the time when I was writing this, Homeland was big. So and then in terms of comic books, my favorite writer by far is Greg Rucka. So there's somebody I pointed out that you look like you're influenced by Lazarus, which is definitely true. Greg Rucka and Lazarus is one of the most influential books for me at the point when I first started writing this. So I would say Greg Rucka, Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman, excuse me. Definitely Rick Remender's Deadly Class was a big one for me. And then even Brian Wood's, oh my gosh, tip of my tongue. Justin's gonna kill me. Yeah, I'll remember it later. But one of the things I did was kind of like I said, in advertising, I didn't say this, but in advertising, whenever we get a new client, one thing we got to learn to do is break down everything about that specific thing. And so, just like college, in college we learn how we learn, and so I wanted to learn the new trade for me of writing from kind of short form to even longer form. And so I looked at these books, like specifically the first issue of, like I said, Deadly Class and Briggsland. That's who it was. Brian
Yeah,
Wood's Briggsland and Lazarus, and kind of just broke down like the pacing of pages, the pacing of the story, and how even then from there it's like, what do these 3 pages do? Why do they exist? Within the arc of just that issue. And then even within the panels, like, why are these panels there? And why do they say what they say? It's kind of, again, in advertising, we got 30 seconds to tell a story of some kind. And so it's really down to what is really absolutely necessary to be in front of that audience at that point, whether it's a commercial, whether it's a billboard, it's what is absolutely needed for that specific thing or that format. So I treated the whole thing that way. It's like, what am I trying to do to this issue? How many things do I need to make this work? What's the flow of it? Down to who's talking? Why are they saying that? Why is that important? It's a lot. There's a lot of do we need that kind of exposition? Just questioning a lot of that, and then also trying to break away from that and actually just feel the story too. So you have to find a balance of feeling and writing, and then structuring it so it feels like music's got a rhythm, right? So it keeps the person involved. And so that's kind of the approach and how I went about putting this one together. And those are the people. So the question was, how was I influenced? And those were the biggest influences me at the time.
Cool. No, I mean, there's some big names there that you've chosen to kind of like draw inspiration from. I mean, certainly with Greg Rucka, it's all about epic world building, and with Greg, it's all about making sure there's a really strong foundation to the whole thing. So it's a case of then any detail and finesse and any kind of like flair that you want to stick over the top, it's going to sit on a really strong foundation of a world which he's put together and created for the page. How long has this been to put together to kind of like make sure that the foundation's as solid as it can get?
Well, for a 4 issue miniseries, Justin and I, because he's been kindly editing it as a friend, but he's been working
I'm
with
going to
me
come
on
back
it.
to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am.
he's been
I
guiding.
am going to come back to that because you certainly for Kickstarters and for self-publishing, you've gone for an editor. I want to come back to that. No, carry on with what you were saying. Sorry.
Sure, no worries. And as I mentioned before, this is not what I do daily. You know, I have a real job, not a real, a paying job. Excuse me. This is comic books are real, but
Oh,
I have a.
I can hear some comic artists and writers really chomping at the bit there.
Well, trust me, if I could make this my real job, this is where I want to be. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like I want this to be my. I'd rather be doing this all day. So that's the hope. Is I wish I could make this the real job, but my I have a job that keeps me going and keeps the lights on. But it took me about 4 years to write it, just because I'd find like half an hour every other night, and then Justin and I would meet every few weeks to kind of go over the script and talk about it, and then we'd go through edits and so all 4 issues are done being written. All 4 issues have been edited by Justin. So at this point, we met Dave just maybe 2 years ago. So we're actually almost done with issue 3,
Oh, wow.
inks and colors. Super close. I think we're up to page 19 out of 24. So great spot. Frank's already got the first 18 pages of so that he can letter. We're in a great spot. So when we launch, the book will be completely done. And I'm actually going to be sending out early previews. So keep an eye out for that, Leonard. I'll be sending that out early for you to read before anybody else does. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, if anything, I found with speaking to people and those that are putting out books on Kickstarter and crowdfunding, when you've got an actual product ready to go, basically the crowdfunding is either for publishing or for printing or for getting the word out. If you've actually got a product to go, that's when obviously people are more willing to part with their cash and invest in something because they know that they're not taking too much of a risk because the book's kind of done. It's there. The book looks astonishing, and that's down to the incredible work of Dave Law. I mean, where did you come across Dave's work?
Oh, that's an interesting story. Dave, I'm going to track back just a little bit. Justin and I originally were going to pitch this around to actually, I'll get to that later on. So anyways, met Dave. We were looking for artists for a while, or at least I was looking for an illustrative partner, although I'm an illustrator by trade, but way out of practice. So I thought to myself, let me just focus on writing and let me find a creative partner in this. It took about 1.5 years maybe of kind of going to different cons. And one day at LACC about say 2020, when it came back from the pandemic, can't be 2020, 2021, 2022, can't be 2020. Just walking around, and his pop-up banner really stood out. And I was walking around Artist Alley, just kind of meeting different artists. And we'll get into this with Kickstarters, getting to know your community, right? So I was just going around, making around, saying hi to people, and getting, just building my community within the indie world, and ran into Dave, and loved the work. And he and I were chatting, and I was just like, we just really get along, like just as people, we really got along. I came back a couple times, and my buddy Joel, who frequents Southern California conventions with me, was like, you really get along with Dave, and I think you want to work with him. I was like, I think I do too, but let me see if he has time, because I know he's still in the middle of a pretty big series that he's working on with Chris. And so he and I were chatting, and I was like, hey, do you do commissions? And he's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, no, can I commission you to do a whole issue? And he's like, whoa, that's pretty big. I was like, well, because like, as you mentioned, having a complete book is important. As an unknown quantity out there in the world of comics, I'm a nobody. I'm an unknown name. And so it's hard for me to, as a consumer, to look at somebody I don't know and go, why would I put money into you? I don't know if you're going to finish the book. I don't know what the story's about. And so I want to bet on me first. If I can bet on me, then I can ask people to bet on me too, right? So I said, hey, Dave, look, I need to put out the first book, and I need to have a complete book so that when people kickstart, they're going to get this book quick, and they know I'm for real. You know, this is a real thing. And we turned around the print and everything, I think in 2 months, 3 months, something like that. It was in people's hands within 3 months from the end of Kickstarter. So very happy about that. And I want to keep that precedent going for myself. So I was like, hey, what do you think? He's like, we get along. Awesome. But what I liked about his answer was, but can I read it first? Which is great. I want him to want to draw it, because you can find people who want to draw your stuff, but then if their heart's not in it, it'll show them the work. And so his response is like, yeah, can I read it first? I was like, yes, I love that answer. So I sent him the full series. He read it. He's like, I'm on board. Let's do this. So worked it out. And, you know, and you could see that passion in a lot of the pages. Like he really puts in the work, even some moments in there that are very subtle in acting. He'll put in that work. And it's just, I'm grateful for him as a creative partner on this. He's been fun. We've been having a lot of good times on this. I'm glad we found each other at LICC for sure.
The team then you've put together. So you've got obviously yourself in the writing category. You've got Dave, Laura on illustration. You've got another name which I'm going to struggle to. I'm just going to run it. Is it Frank? Oh no, I'm not. I can't do it. I'm backing out. I'm backing out on this. Frank's your letterer. What's his name?
Yeah, well, I can't say it either. Frank and I have only emailed. We've only emailed. He's the nicest guy. We interact on social media, and I don't know if you know, but he's like lettering every book on Image and Dark Horse. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's super nice. He's got a ton of work, so I'm glad I'm able to fit into his schedule. And as Justin has taught me, you know, like the best lettering is lettering you don't see. You know what I mean? It doesn't get in the way, but it functions really well in helping complement the story. And so we found him as a partner in that, and it's been really cool. He's fun. He's found a couple of solutions to some pages that I didn't imagine. And I was like, wow, that's better than I thought in my head. Good job. I mean, there's a whole reason he's the professional on that.
Frank Cvetkovic. I'm going with that.
You got it.
There you go. That was as slow as attack as I went for it. There was no way I was just going to run at it, because I hit the wall rather hard on that one. No, but the fact that you put this team together, and also having an editor, which is actually a bit of a rarity when it comes to self-publishing, and certainly for kickstarting, because number one, you want to kind of keep the costs down and keep things relatively streamlined. But I feel that editing and lettering, well, every element is essential to putting a book together and becoming part of that team. An editor, I think, is the secret weapon of a good comic. They're the ones that can really keep things on an even keel, help you with the old line of kill your darlings, kind of really fine-tune the script, fine-tune the art, and really kind of keep things nicely compact and moving in a straightforward direction. What was your relationship with Justin? How did that develop, and how did you agree to get him on board?
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but he and I met at that comic shop. So I knew him as an editor, but just in the world of advertising, you tend to work in partnerships. There's the art director, and there's the writer, or the creative director and the writer. And so there's always that combo. I don't know if you've seen Mad Men, but there's always like that. You're a pair. You're always a team. And I've always found that very valuable as a creative whenever I work on anything, is to have somebody to bounce things off of. It hurts your ego, but it's best for the work. And so the other person is a fresh pair of eyes. Something I've always kind of learned to appreciate in the world of advertising is having that other person to go, hey, you know, you were trying to do this with this scene, or you're trying to do this, you're trying to say this. This is the concept that you're following. This is the direction. You went off, you veered off, you went past the guardrails. So that person gut checks my work for me to make sure that I'm on board, that I'm still in my lane. And so Justin, as I know, is an editor by trade. And at the time, we're both doing this for free, and so my only way to pay Justin back was I'd buy him dinners whenever we talk about the work. And so he was glad to do it. Again, I value his friendship to be that, but also he doesn't let the friendship get in the way of doing the job right. I've told the story a few times, but there's a scene in issue number 1 where there's a flashback, and I just put like the lazy writer's way. I was like, and then a scene happens where she gets into a fight, and I just put, it was like 3 sentences, and it was a 2-page spread.
The Indians take the fort, I believe, is the way that you described that. The Indians take the fort.
Gunfight ensues. Yeah. Yeah. Crowd goes into song and dance. And next page. But and then so for me, I just got that section out of my system, but I didn't solve it, right? And Justin's going through it. He sent me some notes, and the biggest note on there was like, "This is lazy." I was like, "Oh man." But that's a good friend and a good editor. Yeah. Hey, he wasn't sugarcoating. He wasn't blowing smoke. He was like, "You gotta look. Your whole book is solved except that. Whatever passion and energy you put into the rest of the book, you're weakening it with that." He didn't say those words specifically, but that's what I felt, and it makes sense. It's like, why would I weaken it because I'm being lazy? And he just right to the gut, like, "You're being lazy." I was like, you're right. And it was something I had to solve, and I think I know it really enhanced the story even more. So I appreciate that in the end. And he's always been like that with me. So we argue about shows we do and don't like, which is part of every nerd's friendship, right? Is you like that movie? That's stupid, So he's like that with my writing, which I appreciate.
Fair enough. Listen, someone honest who's going to keep you on the straight and narrow, you can't beat that in an editor. That's fantastic. So this is you're currently running the Kickstarter for issue 2, or it's actually 1 and 2 on the Kickstarter page.
Yeah, that one's actually complete.
Oh.
That one's actually complete. Yeah, we're about to. I apologize. Yeah, that one's complete, and we're in the pre-launch for issue 3.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's right. Let me have a look. Yeah, that was done and done. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Done and done. What am I on about? 165 backers, $7,000 to bring it to life. Issue 3 is on the way. When it comes to sort of like you've wanted to tell this story, or you've been convinced that comics is the way to get your long form stories out there. What was the biggest surprise to you about the art form of putting a comic together? What was the one that you just went, I didn't twig that, I didn't realize that, or wow, that came out of nowhere? So what was the biggest kind of light bulb moment for putting California together?
I would say, and I think a lot of people have talked about this that I've talked to, is the amount of self-promotion you got to do, even if you're with a publisher. The amount of self-promotion you have to do, especially as an indie person, and the amount of work that takes to do that. Thank God I have a background in advertising, and even then I still feel like I'm not doing enough, even though I've been told I do a decent amount. It's something I'm used to doing, but also like I feel like I could be doing more. And every campaign, I'm going on campaign number 3 now, I'm fine-tuning that even more. So the first one, I think I hit that really well. The second one, we'll go with Justin. I got lazy on the second one. And so the third one now, I'm feeling like I'm back. I'm hitting my stride again, as I did with issue 1, but with even more knowledge, so that I could focus more on the audience that I've met and the audience that I've found, and finding how to reach that specific type of audience as well. So yeah, and just that in itself,
In that case, I am going to ask you about this because it's something that I've been wanting to ask a number of people running Kickstarters and running campaigns. One of the major platforms to try and get and develop a community was Twitter. At the end of the day, it had the numbers, it had the audience, and it had a lot of people out there kind of coming together as a community. It had usable hashtags. It had usable search engines. It finally managed to get to a place where we could actually get out there and do some work. And then the world fell apart, and someone came along and decided to just gut it and tear it apart and throw it into the trash. You're then having to look at other platforms and other ways to get out there. Well, number one, are you still on Twitter? I'm never going to call it X. It's never going to happen. Number one, are you on Twitter? Number two, have you found other avenues? I mean, I discovered you on Threads. And how is that working for you? And how is social media changed, do you feel, when it comes to getting the word out about your books?
All right, let's start with the first one about Twitter, or Twixter, as I call it. Twitter,
man.
yes. I was actually inactive on that before I started the first campaign, and like exactly what you said, and I felt it. The first campaign I did, it was like, wow, the community is here. I guess I got to be back on this thing, because I wasn't a big fan of Twitter, but it was a great way to get the word out. Like you said, the community is there. And then I would go to these conventions, all these people that I met on Twitter, I would meet them in person, shake their hand, and we backed each other. It was such a great way to, the indie community is such a great way to, on Twitter, to meet each other and then put a face to the name in person. And then, it was such a nice feeling, like digital hug, if anything, so, and then like you said, and then it kind of is falling apart, and you see the amount of engagement kind of go down a little bit. It's definitely tougher in that specific platform. So I'm gonna say specifically with Twitter, but I'm keeping active there because that's where I've met a lot of folks who I back and who have backed me, right? But I'm making the transition to Threads. I tried Blue Sky. It's okay. The interface isn't quite where I want it to be. It's not as conversational. I think you and I talked about this, or maybe it was Lotus Comics on Threads. It's not as conversational. It's not as user friendly for me. I'll say for me. I wouldn't say to anybody else. If you're used to it, and that's great for you. Threads also just is more connected to my personal Instagram, and then also to the Comics California Instagram. So it's kind of all built in together. So and then just like you, I kind of put out something like, hey, I'm trying to build my community here, which is what I did basically on Twitter. Is like, I'm trying to build my community. Send me people who you think I should follow. And Threads is becoming that for me. It's becoming my new place for just building my indie comics community specifically. And I think that's how you and I did a lot of our interaction, was through Threads, as you mentioned. How has that changed in terms of social media? I don't think it has. It's just a matter of what platform. And social media changes platforms all the time, and within its own platform, it changes. It's I've in the world of advertising, I've seen the world where everything we did was TV, billboards, so out of home, so the broadcast, which is TV and radio, out of home, and then print, and then maybe some web. But now it's like multifaceted, it's multi-platform. And then even on the web, you would have A/B testing of three kinds of ads, and which one works best on Facebook, which ones work best on Instagram, which ones work best on Twitter. And you might have three messages, but you're not gonna put all three there. You're gonna put them all three in the same places, and whichever performs more, you would keep there and pull it and put the other one in the other one. It's so you have to be able to move on the fly. So how it changes, I'm not scared of it. It's a lot more work. As I mentioned, now I'm doing it for myself. I don't have a team to do it for me. In the ad agency, we would go through the analytics and look at it and say, oh, okay, well, that's working, that isn't working. Well, let's adjust this copy. And this demographic works better on Facebook. They want to hear this kind of messaging, so let's do that. This demographic likes this on Instagram. They want to hear this. Okay, let's make one for them. Let's make one for them, and we'd have a team.
I was going to ask how metric do you get? How much do you tear apart numbers? Are you somebody that really kind of goes into the metrics of all the platforms to kind of really fine tune your message? Is that
Not
the advertiser in you?
yeah. I mean, I do and I don't. Like it's a matter of time too. I just don't have the time and money to do it, as I'm sure you know. It's it's a matter of gut feeling. It's like, okay, well, I'm not getting as much engagement on, you know, Instagram live over here, or I'm not getting as much. So let me try something else. Like I tried advertising on Instagram and I got a lot of hits, but more kind of comments, but less return on investment with kind of clicking for backing or even for. So I found that I just need to connect through this, like we're doing here, is meeting folks that I like and having an honest conversation, and then they then tell their followers, hey, give it a whirl, you know. And referral is kind of the best way to do it, but that takes time, is building that community and finding folks that you connect with and just making that authentic kind of connection. That works best for me, I think, because I work better talking with people directly.
Okay. Right, we've done enough of the how the sausage is made, but let's actually talk about the book itself,
Yeah, yeah.
because I mean, we kind of gave a little bit of a cryptic overview, which was great. It was a nice little elevator pitch, but if we can really get into certainly with because we've got here the I've got the page up for 1 and 2, and like I say, the campaigns they did very well moving forward. Number 3, just on the horizon. How has the story evolved for yourself in terms of where you originally had it planned? Because it sounds like you had a quite an expansive story to go with, but was issue 3 something that you were already aiming towards, or was it something that has evolved as you've carried your books going forward?
No, we have had all 4 issues written and edited
Wow,
well before
done,
yeah,
done.
well before we met Dave. I'm a believer in make the work for you, and it for what you want to see, what you want to hear. As an, like, if you're a musician, make things for you that you want to hear. As a writer, make things you want to see up on the shelf, not because you want to make sales. It's because you want to make something that you think will make an impact, that you think will people would want to pick up. I can't. I'm gonna put the example of like Lost, you know, the TV show. They reacted to the audience and adjusted stories, and it I think they diluted themselves through season 3 and 4. And I don't want to do that. Like, if someone's reading my book, liked issue 1, liked issue 2, and didn't like issue 3, well, that's where the story's going, and that's on me. But that's where it's going, and I'm not going to change it to satisfy 5 people when it was already working the first 2. So and nothing against people doing that. It's just not for me. I'd rather stay true to where my heart was at originally, and get the piece done and put it out there for people to consume. And then it becomes theirs, right? So yeah, I've met people who can adjust as issues come out based on feedback. And you know, and that's not a bad thing too, because you could hear things that influence and uh, make you, oh, that's a cool point of view I didn't think about. Let me put some more of that in there because that does resonate with me. If that's the kind of influence, that's fine. But if it's about trying to get more people because you're trying to hit a number, that's I can't. I can't do that, for at least for comics, because I do that enough for advertising where I'm catering to so many clients and people. Comic books for me is for me. You know, writing comic books is the first time I've ever written. It's the first time I've ever made something that's mine and is for me. Even when I was on The Simpsons and Futurama, that was somebody else's property. I'm always trying to make someone else happy there, right? And this book here was the first time I ever put something out to be consumed that was made just for me. So why would I dilute that? And the response has been nice, and it's probably one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever had. I have, you know, an Emmy certificate from being on The Simpsons, and that's a great accolade. But somebody I don't know emailing me to say, "Hey, I loved issue 2," you know, or when I was at LICC and someone came running in when they only had issue 1, I didn't have issue 2 with me, and saying, "Hey, do you have issue 2 with you? I've been waiting for it." It's like, that's so heartwarming. I love it. I appreciate that. And that means way more to me than anything else I've ever done. So at least creatively. Hello? I think you're frozen.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
bear with me.
I hear you now. I hear you.
You still there?
There. Yep. Yep.
Are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Everything's frozen. Everything froze at this end, and I'm not entirely sure why. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you and I could see you.
Okay. Right. I did catch a lot of that. I think when you were talking about, it was certainly a story for yourself. It was a story for yourself, and it was a case of you were wanting to very much serve your own storytelling needs and your own. Hello?
Hello?
Oh,
Oh no! Oh no!
technology, you gotta love it. Yeah, fun and games. We're getting there.
How am I
Can
sounding?
you hear me now? Private chat.
I can hear you.
Okay. It's hit and miss, and I've no idea why. I just don't know. But okay. Well, tell you what, we'll barrel on just for a couple of minutes. We'll hold it together just while we can. But no, the what I was getting from what you were saying was it's very much about serving your own, so like your own heart as a storyteller, instead
Correct.
of not so much catering to an audience, but at least appreciating that they're there, but you are wanting to serve your own desires and drives as a storyteller.
Yeah, yeah. How am I
Man.
sounding to you? Can you hear or see me?
Yes, I can. You carry on.
Let me try to close my cam. See if that works. All right, can you hear me okay? How do I sound?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Let's do that. Let's do that. I'll just turn off my my video, just kind of save on bandwidth maybe.
Can you hear?
Oh yeah, I can totally hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Crack on, by all means.
All right, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the question. What was the question again?
Oh man. Well, I suppose we'll tell. We'll give up on that question. we'll crack on with another one. Where do you feel California is going to go next? Like I say, issue 3 on its way. How many issues are you saying? 4 issues? Can you see any more coming down? What else can you see happening with California?
Well, yeah, like you said, it's 4 issues. I wanted to again just see if I could write something, and I originally had it at 6 issues, but you know, when Justin and I were talking about this, actually, but let me go back a little bit. Before Kickstarter, we were going to go the traditional route, and we were going to pitch it along to different publishers like Image and Dark Horse and IDW. And at the time, that was kind of the route that Justin knew about, that he's used to doing through, you know, his books that he got made. And, you know, and he even warned me, he's like, you know, you're going to get a lot of rejections. You're unknown, but, you know, we'll push through. we'll get it. Well, at the time we were going to work with Andrea Muti to get, you know, the first 4 pages done to kind of show proof of concept. You know, here's the team. You got the illustrator, you got the writer, and you got the editor. 2 of them are known quantities. The writer is not. But here's the first 4 issues written. Here's the first 4 pages illustrated, and then even here's a few character designs, kind of a packet, you know, presentation. Here's what we have. Would you like us to? Would you take this on? And so that was the route we were going to go through initially. And then, you know, Justin was like, but also if it does get greenlit, it does take a few years to get done, and then maybe even find it in the queue for either one of those publishers will take some time. And so that was a little bit of a reality check. And in the process of kind of just meeting people in the industry, I met Charlie Stickney from Scout Comics at the time. And I was just kind of making the rounds and got to know him a little bit, shared with him the first issue of the script of issue number 1. We got to talking, and, you know, he was like, you know, I'm pretty successful on Kickstarter. This is a pretty cool concept. If you don't want to wait and, you know, you don't want to go through the publisher route, you could do this all on your own. And I was like, what does that mean? And so he kind of chatted with me a little bit about the indie world through Kickstarter. And, you know, there's a lot of benefits, which is, you know, you keep the rights to the property, you get to make it as soon as you want, as good as you want, and, you know, make as many as you want, and you own it all. But it's a ton more work, and the money comes out of your own pocket, and it's a lot more stress. But I was up for that. And so after about a year of kind of trying to figure out as much as I can, and meeting people in the industry, and that's kind of the biggest part of Kickstarting, is putting yourself into the community so that when you do put out your first book, you're not some person just like, hey, look, I'm new, give me some money. You know, you got to have that Kickstarter community built in around you so that they could push it out too and go, hey, I know blank, this is their book. Give them a try, give them a look, give them a consideration. And so, yeah, it's been a fun kind of venture trying to put this together, and going the indie route was kind of the way we wanted to go in the end. And it's been a lot of work, like I mentioned, making the book, producing it, project managing, and then, as we talked about, self-promotion. So I'm excited about it. 4 issues, yes, that's where we're at. I actually was asked to do an anthology, a 6-page story in an anthology. And so Robin there on the left, holding the Our Niece Sticks, I have written a 6-page backstory for her that I think will be kind of fun to see in a different publication. So yeah, I have a few other stories I'm trying to put out, one-offs. I don't know if I'm going to go any further than the 4 issues, only because I have a different story that I'm working on currently that I'd love to put more heart and soul into. But there is a place specifically for the 2 on the right, Big Sis and LB, that I love so much in the story that if I could write more about them, I would. And I'm not saying I'm closing that door ever. It's just a matter of this other one I'm working on. I really want to put a heart and soul into that.
Cool. And anything beyond California? Has the comic writing bug absolutely got you, and have you got Spire?
Yeah, no, I do love it. It's been a fun process. It's just a matter of trying to find time outside of
that Apple.
Yeah, oh, I totally got it. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, trying to find time after work to put words on the page. I've found I could actually write while going out for a run, you know, just kind of dictating onto my phone just ideas, and ends up being words on a page, and it's just a matter of editing from there. Has been kind of a nice other way for me to write. But yes, the writing bug has caught me. I'm enjoying it. I would like this, as I mentioned, to be my real job.
Cool. Excellent stuff. Well, I mean, I really wish you the very best with the campaign for volume 3 when it lands. Where is the best place for people to follow along what you are doing? Like you say, you're tailoring your message out to various platforms. which is the one that you feel is kind of like your baseline where you send the most amount of information out from?
Yeah, great question. Number one is Instagram for the comic book specifically. It's California Inc. INC comic. So it's at California Inc. comic on Instagram for sure. And if you want to jump on the pre-launch page for Kickstarter, it's californiainccomic.com. And you'll find the launch page there. Pre-launch.
Cool. And we do have the Threads account as well, which I would recommend for everyone to go and check out. Threads.net /at ARTEBUEN. By all means, follow along because that's it's Threads. That's where all the cool kids are. So, by all means, head to Threads and check out what he's up to. So listen, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Sorry about the technical issues at the back end, but it's been great to kind of like showcase you and find out more about your story and find out more about California Inc. as well. But I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much indeed.
I appreciate you, Leonard. Thanks again, man. Quick question for you. When's the next time you're coming out to SCCC?
The plan is July. The idea is that we're coming out this year. We are waiting on word from CCI about press passes, but if not, I'm going to gate crash a couple of panels. I don't know whatever it takes. I'm going to do my best to get out there, but no, we want to go with friends. We want to see our con family, and no, the plan is out in July.
Oh, amazing. Hey, I'm a San Diegan, so I'd love to buy you a pint, I believe is as you say, where you're at. I'd love to meet with you in person and maybe even a pitcher of beer for you.
I am down for that. I am absolutely down for that. Not a problem at all.
All right, Leonard, excited to see you, man, in July. We'll talk soon.
Okay, excellent stuff. Thank you so much indeed for coming on. Much appreciated. Excellent. I kind of ditched him from the stream straight away because I appreciate that there was a slight delay there as well, and we were having some technical issues, which was a shame. But it was great to actually get to talk to him while we got the chance. And yes, I hope you got the chance to find out more about what he's up to with the Kickstarter. Again, search for California Inc. on Kickstarter, certainly for more information about you to land. Very much looking forward to getting that out. I am trying to find out if the technical issues are at my end or at somewhere along the line of StreamYard or wherever. But yeah, do let us know if there's any glitches that you can, if it's me, if it's somewhere along the lines with StreamYard. I mean, I'm doing my best with the equipment I've got to hand. But tell you what, I'm going to barrel on, and for the final 10 minutes, let's just crack on with some news and bits and pieces that has come out of WonderCon that's on the way. We are talking not that far to go now. We are talking March, which means it's all about getting as much information as we possibly can out to everybody and getting the most amount of buzz going for this this show. We do have some bits and pieces that are coming out, especially when it comes to the layout of the floor. Best place to go at the moment for me when it comes to getting word and news about WonderCon, it is Reddit. The Comic Con Reddit is an excellent resource because it really is about a number of people doing their best to get the headlines out to everybody. So do check out the Reddit or subreddit of Comic Con. But yes, the Unofficial are doing their best as well to spread the word, and they have got themselves a nicely updated page when it comes to information about exhibitors' locations. We've got the official lists yet to come out, but Don Nugent is doing his best to blow all of that privacy out all he can when it comes to the locations of people out on the floor, commissions, artists, work in progress, things that people are going to be bringing to WonderCon. Do check out SDCC blog for their Wonder posts, of course, for all of their updates on that. And I think the other piece of information did come from the Reddit thread, and they presented some information, especially if perhaps you want to get a little bit more involved as a volunteer or somebody that really wants to give back to the community by staffing at WonderCon, because CCI are putting or have put up a page on comic.com or comic-con.org/careers, and it is their temporary line management staff for WonderCon 2024. If you want to submit your resume to jobs at comic-con.org, all of those are now currently being considered, with virtual interviews currently taking place. And yes, it's a paid job. It's a paid position. So they are absolutely leaning into locals stepping up and becoming a big part of WonderCon this time round, with reliable transportation, of course, to Anaheim. But yes, we've got shifts happening from March 29th to March 31st. It's coming up with temporary and part-time, with $16.85 per hour for those who are interested in becoming a line management, temporary line management staff for WonderCon 2024. Who knows whether that's something that they're going to expand into CCI, a paid position or temporary paid position at Comic-Con. Could be interesting to see if that's something that they will be expanding into. So yeah, interesting stuff there. Right. What have I got? I do want to talk about my regular features. We've got 5 minutes to do before we lose the Instagram crowd. So let's do a couple of these, which is the two features that I've got is the comic of the week. One that I want to talk about is a book which I bought mostly because of who the writer is. He's somebody who has been on the show. I've met in San Diego myself, and I'm a huge fan of David Avalon. Has put together or has presented with Dynamite Comics, Elvira Meets H.P. Lovecraft. The first issue came out last Wednesday, and it just has trademark David Avalon writing all the way through it. He really is just, he's got that sense of pulp, but he treats everything with such respect. It's a true love for the original stories, the original characters. He recognizes some of the quirkiness of H.P. Lovecraft. He may not be somebody you actually wanted to meet in person, but certainly somebody he wants to meet or has met. Indeed, is Elvira, and he has put together this book which takes together the pulp and the campiness and the love and the lore of the and then you've got the absolute gothic horror, which is trademark H.P. Lovecraft, and having those two worlds come together, but absolutely holding with Elvira as the linchpin to the whole thing. He recognizes what the key and the core story is, and yeah, what he's doing with this book. Highly recommend checking out H.P. Lovecraft, or Elvira Meets H.P. Lovecraft, and also it's been wonderfully rendered as well. So there's lots of it looks like Cassandra up on the page. Whether that actually looks like H.P. Lovecraft is a whole other ballgame, and it's unlikely he was ever that gregarious or amenable to talk to other people. But what David Avalon has done with this story is just absolutely incredible. Highly recommended. From Dynamite Comics, it is my comic of the week. It is Elvira Meets H.P. Lovecraft, available as of last week. Right, and my last thing that I want to get into before I kind of like disappear. Number one, I want to say thank you very much indeed to everybody who is following me on Threads, at the moment counting at 1,034 followers. Thank you so much indeed. Over the last sort of 2 weeks, we've gone from 800 to over 1,000 followers. So thank you very much indeed for joining us on the ride. But what I am wanting to do is showcase a social media account, social of the week. And I am sticking with Threads for now, and I'm doing my best to showcase people who have less than 2,000 followers on Threads. And this is where I have to just be absolutely blown away. Why on earth this person has less than 2,000, in fact, less than 1,500 followers. This is Francine Delgado, who is somebody who I've been following now, not a massive length of time. I'd say this is about 4 weeks in, but she's an artist for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Addams Family for IDW, Marvel Legendary. She's got a massive pedigree as an artist, and not only that, but she's putting together some incredible artwork, including stuff like this. This is for a book which is getting published by Mad Cave. Again, the Mad Cave are doing some great work, putting some stuff out there, which it gets my attention. Gatchaman. Now, Gatchaman is not so well known here in the UK, but Battle of the Planets certainly is. It's the same thing. It was just rebranded for the international market, and having the Famous Five up on the comic page, and what Cullen is doing, and Chris Batista as well. Great lineup and a great, just absolutely astonishing. And it is something that Francine is showcasing on her page. The artwork that she's doing on threads.net, do check out what she's up to and what she's doing. It is threads.net / Francine Delgado Art. Great page, if anything, also for the does a lot of WIP and work in progress and process videos. So she will often put the original artwork, as you see here, this fantastic Mystique up on the screen at the moment, and then right next to it, the actual process video for it, side by side, so you can see what her process is for putting these images together. Highly recommend check.net. That is Francine Delgado Art on Threads, and highly recommended as my social of the week. And that is me. Thank you very much indeed for everyone for watching. And we've got Michael P, who's joining us at the end with a couple of comments. It would be nice to have paid positions, but SDCC has so many volunteers. Yeah, it's not exactly like they have to go out of their way to pay people to volunteer at San Diego Comic-Con, which kind of begs the question about WonderCon. Why is it a show which is now requiring or needing to actually pay people to come along and staff for them? Who knows? Is that something that we need to keep an eye on and possibly investigate? Why is WonderCon needing to pay to get its staff? Does it not have the cachet that SDCC does? Who knows? Anyway, that is our show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We have some news about a show that is coming up, and I am going to be putting a poll out on Threads in the next week or so. We've been trying to get Tom King up on the show. Busy boy, and my word, is his particular star absolutely shining bright at the moment. If you've not been reading Wonder Woman for DC Comics at the moment, it's just a phenomenal book, and easily at the moment my favorite book on the shelf. So do check out Tom King's work. It's Tom King TK on Threads if you want to follow him along. However, he has turned around and said his weekends are his weekends, and he wants to keep them for his family. So the options are to either pre-record and show that interview on this particular channel on Sunday as part of the Talkin Con episode, or actually do it as an incidental episode and have our regular show on a Sunday with other guests indeed. He's a big guest, and he would be the one that absolutely would dominate that week. So who knows? What would you think? Would you like to see a pre-record, or do you want to interact live midweek with Tom King? we'll have to do something and arrange something with that perhaps down the line. Thank you very much indeed for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know we've had some major technical issues. I'm hoping that we can sort that out. Don't forget, of course, you can watch along, watch on YouTube, on Twitter if you want to, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram if it's still there, and of course we've got the audio version as well if you want to listen along on SoundCloud and also Apple Podcasts as well. Plenty of places for us to interact. Of course, comment down below, like and subscribe. Let us know that you're watching and do spread the word about Talkin Con. We are back next week with another Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. From myself, Len Sultana, and from Arthur as well, who's joined us today as our special guest. Hope you've enjoyed our show, and I'll see you next Sunday for Talkin Con. From me to you, we cross the line. Take care.